Welcome, everybody, to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube today. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Ridiculously Raw. I am your ridiculously over good brother, Anthony Florio here, joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We have the Twisted Angel, D.D. Woodson. We are awaiting the presence, as always, of the Phenom, Michael Bullock. We don't know if he'll be joining us or not. If he does, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we will hopefully have him tomorrow night for what will be the final Tuesday night edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk with good old MF Michael Fletcher, because after this week, starting next week and going forward, Cerebral Smack Talk will be moving to Friday nights. So, big story there. MF getting the coveted Friday night spot. But that's next week. Let's get to this week here. Monday Night Raw live tonight from the beautiful new Chase Center in San Francisco, California, the new home of the Golden State Warriors. And, well, it was an interesting show, to say the very least. And we started it off with of course, an in-ring segment. Universal Champion Seth Rollins, interrupted by Braun Strowman. And it leads into a match. Another match between Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins here tonight. So, yeah, I'm surprised they were going with this match tonight. I mean, it could be due to the match playing into the Bray Wyatt angle, or even because they won't be on the same brand much longer due to the draft. The verbal exchange was well done, and I like that they played on Rollins saying he was happy Strowman wouldn't be getting a rematch anytime soon. Seemed like an odd choice at the time, but now it makes sense in that it set up the need for this return match from the Clash of the Champions. So, solid way to start the show. So, nothing more to say. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on this opening segment. Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. Solid verbal exchange leading into the return match for Clash of the Champions title.
Yeah, solid match. I mean, solid way to start the show, no doubt about it. It does fit into the narrative about Seth Rollins being the Universal Champion, Braun Strowman wanting one more shot, which is nice to see. And then, it also plays into the factor of what are we going to get from Bray Wyatt? Well, you'll find out what Bray does later on in the evening. But, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing more to say. I think it was definitely a solid way to jump off Monday Night Raw. There's really nothing more to say. So, D.D. Woodson, it's all yours, my love.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the show. It's solid and very storyline driven. So, yeah, I don't have anything else really to say about it. So.
And we get into our first match of the night, which was a tag team matchup. The Viking Raiders squaring off against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Viking Raiders win the match 10 minutes and 45 seconds. MF, solid start to the match here.
Yeah, solid start to the night from Monday Night Raw in the action format. I could give this about 2.5 stars. This was a good, solid fight, no doubt about it. And I actually was pretty happy that the Viking Raiders got the victory here. You want to give them at least a little bit of some momentum here. Give them what they need. And, yeah, at the end of the night, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I think if they keep winning matches, that it just might give them an opportunity to possibly become, top contenders, the next contenders for the tag team titles. So, I mean, really nothing more to say. 2.5 is my rating for it. So, D.D. Woodson, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'll give it about 2 3/4. It was a good opener, and in the end, I think they picked the right team to win. Although it would have been good for OC to actually pick up one. I think it was good that they went ahead and went with the Viking Raiders to at least show that they can beat a legit team. So, not much more I'm going to say about it. Florio, it's yours.
Yes, 2.5 to 3 for me. A good match. The crowd was lifeless during the Viking Raider entrance, but they won over the fans throughout the match and had a lot of cheers once they scored the fall. So easily the biggest win for the Viking Raiders when it comes to their main roster tag team career, beating former 2-time Raw tag team champions in Gallows and Anderson. So very nice. So, all right. Of course, we have cutouts here. Rusev against EC3. Rusev squashes him in 1 minute and 45 seconds. I mean, yeah, great to see Rusev back. EC3, I mean, what happened to him? Good talker, good wrestler, the type of physique that Vince McMahon usually likes. What in the world's going on with that? But nonetheless, let's get into our next relevant matchup here. We had Sasha Banks squaring off against Nikki Cross. And the boss, Sasha Banks, wins the match 15 minutes and 35 seconds. It's only fitting we have our resident women's expert, Didi Whitson, to start it off here. Very good match here, Didi. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a very solid match. Very well done. It had a good finish. It was a wee bit long, but it was still, it was nice to have a women's match that actually went, at least 15 minutes. So, a lot of good action in here. Not a whole lot of the shenanigans you get from the, one standing on the outside. So, this actually ended up being a very good, legitimate match. So, yeah, I really have nothing negative to say. I'm going to give it about 2.5, teetering close to 3, but that's about where I'm going to go with it, though. So it's yours.
With all due respect, Didi, I disagree with your rating. I think you underscored it a little bit. 3.5 stars for me. This is one of my fights of the night. One of the top fights of the night for sure. Well worked and yet longer than anticipated match. Nikki Cross does typically lose her singles matches, and Sasha Banks is being built up for Hell in a Cell against Becky Lynch inside Hell in a Cell for the Raw Women's Championship. So you would think it would be more of a quick and decisive win for Sasha, but no, they filled the time nicely. The only thing is, it would have been kind of nice to hear from Nikki Cross going into the match to give the fans a reason to, to cheer her, back her up, and, take her seriously. But other than that, really good match here. Nikki Cross is getting better and better and better. And wherever she ends up in the draft, whether she stays on Raw or if she ends up going to SmackDown Live, which I know would make MF very happy because we all know MF has been very high on Nikki Cross since her NXT days. So wherever she ends up, come draft time, I think within maybe the next year or so, I could easily see Nikki Cross being a future Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion down the line. She keeps having solid matches like this against top-tier main event talent. She's on her way. So she lost nothing in defeat. She looked great in defeat. Sasha made her look great. And that's all there is to say on that. So 3.5 stars. MF, do you agree with that statement I just made or what?
All right. I like Nikki very much. I think Nikki is definitely one of the top stars, no doubt about it. But I will say this is that at this point, look, the jury is still out to lunch on Nikki. I mean, Nikki is rising up. She definitely is. From where she was, from being in Insanity to where she is now, to the whole situation. We're basically at the point where they just gotta make everything right. At this point in the game, it's too soon to say one way or the other. I think Nikki would be a great addition to SmackDown Live. I agree with that, Anthony. As far as the rating goes, I'm going to only give this 3.25 stars. I think it was a very good match. I think it was a fine fight. I think you overscored it, Florio. I think 3 stars, it was a little bit of an under. I think you overscored it. I say 3.25 is the appropriate rating for this match. but I do agree that she would be amazing to have. She'd be great, but as far as anything else goes, there's nothing else to add. So that's it. Anthony, it's yours.
All right, fair enough, MF. Moving on to, well, of course, we're back to the cutout section here. Lacey Evans squaring off against Ember Moon. Lacey Evans wins the match, 5.5 minutes. Yeah, not so good. I mean, the Sasha and Nikki match was far better. This was only maybe 1 to 1.5 at the absolute best. I mean, Ember Moon, she wants to reinvent herself and position herself as a contender via the draft. I mean, what happens if she doesn't change brands? But no matter what, I do hope things get better for her. She strikes me as someone the company should be doing more with. So that's all I can say on that. And we're not going to waste any time on that. That was not a good match at all. Sloppy match. Firefly Funhouse with Bray Wyatt. Awesome as usual. And then we moved on to our weekly 24/7 silliness. And, well, what have we here? Carmella double crosses her own buddy. She double crosses R-Truth. And Carmella becomes, I believe, the second woman behind Kelly Kelly to win the
Candice was a champion too, Anthony.
Oh, that's right, Candice as well. So
And Maria.
Actually, she becomes the fourth woman.
Yeah, Carmella's now the fourth woman to hold the 24/7 championship. You know what? Why not let the women have some fun with this? It might freshen things up a bit, since it seems like every week R-Truth running away from Drake Maverick and the rest of the usual suspects. They actually freshened it up. Very nice. So that's all there is to say on that. Return match from last week. Of course, last week, as you know, we had the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. Baron Corbin went over Chad Gable in what we said was the fight of the night. What would these two do for an encore? Well, King Corbin squaring off against Chad Gable. Chad Gable wins the match via a disqualification, 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Oh, man, this thing was just getting good. This thing was on its way to being fight of the night for the second week in a row. That's how good it was getting. I mean, this thing was approaching 4-star level again. But obligatory NA. And just when I was actually starting to actually get behind Corbin, yeah, they turned him into a Game of Thrones cosplayer, for goodness sakes. But anyways, another very good match. I mean, the only reason why I have to show more love to the match from last week was because, you know, it ended cleanly. There was none of this BS, but we get the DQ finish just as it was getting really, really good, because it was almost a carbon copy of last week's match. Great near falls, Corbin dominating, Gable showing the heart and guts of the typical underdog babyface. So unfortunately, I believe we're gonna have to put the NA label on this one. So MF Ferdidi, care to comment here? MF?
I'm gonna give it to the NA as well. I was a little disappointed. I was looking for something a little better, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. I thought they did a good job with it. It's just, like you said, very unfortunate what happened. It was an incredible, like you said, it had the makings. Like, it was literally on the verge of fight of the night, and they pulled the rug out from under us on this one. Very, very, very disappointed. Like you said, worst fight of the evening. Nothing more to say. Should have been a lot more better than what it made to be. And yeah, so Anthony, it's yours. Or Didi, go ahead.
Yeah, it started off slow, but yeah, it did pick up. And both guys, they played their role really well, but just the lack of integrity, overall integrity, and the quality that you had in the King of the Ring. So yeah, I mean, I'll agree. It was definitely an NA. So I'll say.
All right, I think I found our fight of the night here, guys. Fatal 5-way elimination match to determine who will face Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship as part of the season premiere of Monday Night Raw next Monday night from Phoenix. We had the United States Heavyweight Champion, the phenomenal AJ Styles, the one and only Ricochet, Rey Mysterio, Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, accompanied by the little idiot Sami Zayn, and one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions, the glorious Robert Roode. Ricochet, first man eliminated by Shinsuke Nakamura thanks to a Kinshasa. And then, just like we saw so many times last year, WrestleMania, all the way up to Money in the Bank last year, Shinsuke Nakamura eliminated by the phenomenal AJ Styles with a phenomenal forearm. That was at the 17:50 mark. And then 10 seconds later, AJ Styles gets eliminated by his former Fortune 4 brother, Robert Roode, thanks to a glorious DDT at the 18-minute mark. And then when all was said and done, came down to Robert Roode and Rey Mysterio. Winner of the match in a total time of 20 minutes and 25 seconds. And the man who will challenge Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship next week, Booyaka Booyaka, 619. Rey Mysterio. He gets it done. He gets the opportunity of a lifetime. He will challenge Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship on the season premiere of Raw next Monday night. MF, as normal, as you would always say on commentary, 619.
Yeah, well, on this night, it was, you know what? I can't believe it's Rey. Honestly, he was the last guy I thought that was going to be the one to win it, but he did it. Congratulations, Rey Mysterio. You are going to have now a date with destiny. You get to fight the Universal Champion, Seth Rollins. Man, what a match that's going to be. I'm excited. This is going to be a hell of a way to jump off the new season of Monday Night Raw, as we're about to go into a new era for WWE, because next week, guys, we're getting everything brand new. Brand new set, brand new entrance theme, maybe the return of pyrotechnics. I heard a rumor, maybe it's coming, guys. If we get that, man, what a jump off for Monday Night Raw with undoubtedly two of the most popular guys in WWE, a legend in Rey Mysterio with Seth freaking Rollins. This is going to be a great match. As far as the fight goes, this was, for me, a tremendous match. 3.5. I could almost go 4 on this one. That's how good this match was. Well deserved. Congratulations, Rey. Didi, it's yours.
Yeah, I'll agree with the rating. I mean, it was a very well done match. It definitely was the fight of the night. And tremendously fun to watch. And I'm really glad that, we did end up being Rey in the end after everything that he's been through and wanting to quit and everything, and even taking Roode as far as to being the final two. Very very well done for the, and I really liked the closing stretch there with the two of them. So yeah, I have nothing negative to say about it. It's yours, Florio.
Fight of the night, without a doubt. This was 3.5 to 4 stars. Absolutely correct on that. Entertaining match. I mean, very entertaining 5-way. And Great action throughout. We did have some rapid fire eliminations. Oh, excuse me. But that's the only thing I didn't like about it was some of the eliminations kind of seemed rapid fire out of, very quick. But other than that, the action was incredible. It showed how badly these guys wanted it. In a way, you would kind of had a feeling that Ray might have won this thing because earlier in the night in a backstage interview, he said he was dedicating the match to his son Dominic. And when you hear stuff like that, you're thinking, okay, if they're gonna go with that, then obviously he's gonna win the fight. And I agree with MF. I mean, Ray was the last guy I had winning. I thought it was either going to be AJ Styles or maybe even Robert Roode. But here's where we actually have to show some love to WWE here. They're giving us a fresh matchup. You know how I've been preaching about fresh matchups on this program for 7 years or so since we started this whole thing? I mean, goodness gracious. About damn time you guys listened. This is as fresh as it gets, man. Think about this. Rey Mysterio, living legend, future Hall of Famer, has done everything there is to do. WWE champion, World Heavyweight champion, Intercontinental Heavyweight champion, a United States Heavyweight champion, although that reign was tainted, but it is what it is. Multi-time tag team champion, a Royal Rumble match winner, and now with a chance to add the Universal Championship to his legendary, soon-to-be Hall of Fame career. You know he's going in when all is said and done. And Seth Rollins, he's done it all too. Just about, he's done practically everything there is to do. He's won all the belts. He's won a Royal Rumble, which he did this year. Money in the Bank as well. I mean, think of the contrasting styles. Rey Mysterio coming in WCW, 1996 Cruiserweight, took us all by storm, and that's basically the history. And Seth Rollins, nowadays, the star of this generation. Ray was back when we were teenagers, back in the junior high days, and maybe even high school days. And now Rollins nowadays. So I agree with MF. This thing has the potential to be a show stealer, but keyword, but I do smell a rat in the form of a certain fiend, if you know what I mean. I hope I'm wrong, but I got a bad taste in the mouth thinking about it, but I just hope they don't ruin it with that, but I'm sure they're going to. So we'll wait and see. Main event of the evening, the return match, Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. It gets thrown away. No contest, another NA. And why do you think that is? Oh, yeah. He reared his ugly head again, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And he went to town on his former Wyatt family brethren, Braun Strowman. Mandible Claw. Took out the monster. And all he did was just give the zombie death stare to Seth Rollins. And, oh, my goodness. So Didi Woodson, I mean, how do we feel about this? Didi, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, there you are. Okay. All right.
I don't know what happened. It didn't unmute when I clicked it. So all right. It was a good match while it lasted. The finish was, I guess you could say, was protecting Braun while also continuing the feud with the Fiend and Seth Rollins. And it also kind of, if you go back to the Firehouse Funhouse thing, it kind of went along with what he was trying to say to his puppets, where the Fiend he wasn't trying to hurt Seth, but trying to protect him or whatever. So that's kind of what he did here. He was kind of protecting Seth from Braun so that they could have this match at Hell in the Cell. So kind of self-centered there, but at the same time, he's wanting to make sure, I get this chance without, Seth being too hurt when they go into it. So I still think it was a really good match. I like the fact that they had the Fiend come out. I don't like the DQ finishes, but it is what it is. It was still a good way to end the show because it was still very storyline driven, and it does raise the questions for next week. Is the Fiend going to take out every single opponent Seth Rollins has between now and the time that they meet in the ring? So, not anything else I'm going to say. It's yours, Florio.
Another NA, but I guess, we can definitely rule out any association between Wyatt and Strowman. It was understandable to see Rollins frozen in the corner, given that he had been beaten up by 5 men before the Fiend arrived last week. This week, he had a match. It was on the verge of taking Strowman's running power slam finisher, but he wasn't beaten so badly that he should have been frozen. So this week, I think it came off more like fear than simply being too beaten down to do anything. That being said, the Fiend continues to be the hottest act in WWE today, and it is going to be hard for fans over the age of 12 to justify cheering for the cowering babyface champion at the rate they're going. And with how red hot Bray Wyatt is right now, I think come Hell in a Cell, I say we strap him. We strap him. We put the Universal Championship on him, and put the rocket on him, put the jetpack, the rocket pack on him, and push that son of a gun to the moon. And if you do, for the love of God, don't have him hold just for 7 weeks and feed him to another big dog like you did a couple years ago. Don't do that again. That ruined him. Now he's back, and that's all there is to say on that. So
they did say that he was supposed to get a monster push the minute he was going to come back. I think better than ever, or now more than ever, the fans are embracing it. This is the best iteration of Bray Wyatt we've ever had. And I truly believe that, Anthony, you are right. I think that when they do strap him this time around, it's going to be a lot more longer than just 7 weeks. I think they might push him all the way to WrestleMania. I could see the Fiend holding the belt all the way to Tampa and WrestleMania this time around. And the thing is that the way that they did it, the way that they're utilizing his character is even better than ever imagined. When they started doing the Firefly Funhouse, we kind of were like, we didn't know what to expect. But instantly, he became a monster hit. And I think right after the point when he won the title and the whole 9 yards was the reason why this was the greatest thing in wrestling. So for me, there's really nothing more to say. There's nothing more that happens. At the end of the day, I think this is the best way to do it. I'm not that high or big on what Rollins have been doing lately as far as to talk about him as WWE champion. But I mean, right now, like you said, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, that whole Firefly Funhouse is the most over thing in wrestling that I think WWE would absolutely be idiots not to put the belt around his waist at this point in the game. I think it is time to strap him, to crown him champion. He's done his dues. He reinvented himself. I think it's time that Vince and the boys do the right thing for the love of God and for the love of the WWE Universe. If you want to compete with All Elite Wrestling, this is the guy you want to have as your front line soldier. Bray Wyatt as the Universal Champion.
Amen. Amen, MF. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, we're going to get into the overall review here. I'm going to take it for a spin first. I'm going to give this between 6.5 and 7, if I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, we had like what, maybe 3 or 4 quality matches on this show tonight, even though 2 of them ended via a disqualification and an NA. But the Fatal 5-Way elimination, when we first heard about this, I said that had potential to be the fight of the night. And lo and behold, it was the fight of the night. And I'm not at all surprised by that. And then, a very good women's match with Sasha Banks and Nikki Cross. And then you had a solid that solid tag match with the Viking Raiders and the Good Brothers there. That was solid and well done. And the other matches that had DQ finishes, the main event, and of course Corbin and Gable. I mean, those were on the verge of being really good before the DQs came. And the Fiend gets made like $1 million again. He gets to stand tall again. And I got a feeling that he's going to have a very vested interest in Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio for the Universal Championship next week. So, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, the new sets, question is, are they still going to have the stage announce table? That's the question. I mean, or is it going to go back to ringside? We don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out next week if they're serious about these new sets. So, we'll have to find out. So, and of course, some other good action in there as well. And for the first time in maybe ever, I can honestly say the 24/7 stuff was actually interesting. You got Carmella holding it, and you saw about 3 or 4 women come after her. So maybe they're gonna let the women have a go with it. We'll have to wait and find out. But 6.5 to 7. I'm very excited for next week's show. Rollins and Mysterio, Universal Championship. Alexa Bliss against Sasha Banks. You know the history of those two.
They do not like each other.
Not on camera, not off camera. Absolutely
Nope.
not. And then, how about Miz TV next week? The 2 men that MF and I, always like to pretend to be, with MF being Hulk Hogan and myself being the Nature Boy Ric Flair. How about it, MF? Hogan and Flair with Miz TV next week. That's awesome.
That is historic and then some because of the fact of the lineage. And on top of that, you're going in a new direction for WWE. And this is going to be a historic night. No doubt about it. There's going to be a lot of great moments coming up in wrestling because you got yourself. It's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazy and everything else. We got nothing more to say. It's going to be very interesting to watch. So, yeah.
All right, let's get to your overall review, MF. 6.5 to 7 for me.
I agree. 6.5 for me as well. I thought it was a good show. I really got nothing more to say. You kind of summed it up very well. And Didi, glad to have you back just in time, my love. And overall review.
Yeah, I try to close out one little tab, and it closes out the whole thing on me. So I'm not too sure what's going on. I think it's a Google glitch. Anyway, yeah, I'll agree with the rating. 6.5 stars. Who didn't like in the 5-way seeing Ray versus Ricochet? I mean, that was definitely one of the more awesome segments of that match. It had its low points. Yeah, it had high points, but all in all, it was for it being Raw. It was a very storyline driven show, and this is the kind of quality you would want getting ready to go into pay-per-view. And here we are. We're like a week out, so let's just hope going into the go-home show next week that we actually have, the similar quality that we have now, or even a little bit better, because as most of you know, when you have a go-home show, they bomb it. So let's hope that they don't bomb it this time, and that they keep this going in a strong, uh, very strongly. And hopefully less DQ finishes, because I think that's one of the things that really hurt Raw this week was the DQ finishes and some of these little quick, short matches that just aren't really worth the time to even throw on the air. So not much else I'm going to say. So I will see you guys tomorrow night. So good night, guys.
All right, good night, Dee. We'll see you tomorrow night for the final Tuesday night installment of the Cerebral Smack Talk. MF will have all the details on that in just a moment, but let's quickly get into my Tony's take here. Now, as you know, for the last year and a half or so, I've been praising 205 Live. Well, this is one of the rare times I'm going to say it. This was not a good show. I can honestly say it was the worst 205 Live of 2019 by a country mile. Let's get into it. Lince Dorado against Ariya Daivari. Lince Dorado wins in 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah, 2-star match. It was okay, but it was really flat and contained some really awkward exchanges. Gentleman Jack Gallagher and Lee Brian Kendrick were supposed to have a match. Well, they did have a match. Gallagher won by disqualification, 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Akira Tozawa gets involved. Yeah, no heat at all for this. Absolutely dead segment. It was terrible. And then we had Tony Nese against Oni Lorcan. Tony Nese wins the match, 15 minutes, 25 seconds, 2 3/4 stars. It was pretty good at best. They tried, but there was no real fire. Nobody cared, and the finish did not do anybody any favors. Anthony Florio, not impressed. In the immortal words of the Bret Hart, not impressed meme here. 4 out of 10. Now, I know there's been a lot of speculation about the status of 205 Live going forward, with a lot of concerns over lack of interest and crowd reaction. The crowd last week didn't care, but the show overcame, and it was a good show, I thought. This week, terrible effort, poor effort. Crowd didn't care, nothing special in the ring, no energy to it at all. The show thrives when the 205 Live guys go out there and have quality matches where they pull the crowd in most of the time. That didn't happen at all here. Worst episode of the show in quite some time. And that's saying a lot, because 205 Live, for me, was the most improved show over the last year. And the other big show, Impact Wrestling, it was not a good show either, but I felt this one was slightly better. Slightly. We started off with an 8-person street fight. The ECW Originals, Legends, RVD, Rhino, Tommy Dreamer, and Tessa Blanchard against all 4 members of the OVE. And Tessa Blanchard and the ECW Originals, they went over just north of 10 minutes. Tessa with a submission hold on Jake Crist for the win. 3-star match. It was actually good. Right person winning. And who knows, maybe Tessa Blanchard might have set herself up for a next division title match against Jake Crist. Maybe at Bound for Glory. You never know. A non-title match, Taya Valkyrie against Alicia Edwards. Taya Valkyrie wins in about 3.5 minutes. 1 star, worst fight of the night. This was all about the Ace Austin and Alicia Edwards angle, and not the match. It was not any good. Actually, I'm kidding on that one. This was the worst fight of the night. Mahabali Shera against Cody Deaner. Mahabali Shera wins 2 minutes 45 seconds. Dud. Move on. The Rascals against Australian Suicide, Toxin and Arez. Rascals win in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. 2 3/4 stars. Pretty good and fun at times. But it was horribly rushed and didn't get enough time to develop into anything of note. No disqualification match. Jessica Havoc against Su Yung. Jessica Havoc wins in 6 minutes and 5 seconds. 1.5 stars. It was not good. It was really lethargic. And they did not use the stipulation well at all in this match. Then we had the main event of the evening, the final match of LAX and Impact Wrestling. They went up against Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Rich Swann, Willie Mack win the match, 18.5 minutes. Fight of the night, 3.5 stars. After a bit of a slow start, it worked into a really good and tremendously fun main event. Right team winning as LAX exits Impact Wrestling, and obviously will now resume their careers in AEW, as we saw at the last pay-per-view. So 5.5 out of 10. it had a good start and a good finish, but the middle was rather dire with some bad stuff from the knockouts and the trios match that did not nearly get enough time. Not a good effort this time around. So that's that. This upcoming week, the North, the tag team champions, they're going to cut a promo. RVD and Rhino, well, that leads into a match. The North going up against RVD and Rhino. Tennille Dashwood squaring off against Madison Rayne. Johnny Swinger against Owen Traverse. Mahabali Shira against Cousin Jake. Tessa Blanchard one-on-one against Dave Christ. And then the in-ring wedding of World Heavyweight Champion Brian Cage and Melissa Santos. And from what I am reading here, something very, very dire.
Something jacked up went down. That's all I'm gonna say. I saw the footage. I saw it got leaked on the internet. Something jacked up went down, and trust me, if I was Brian Cage, I would be hopping mad. That's all I'm gonna be saying. You got to see it. And the thing is, I'll say this. It's after the wedding. The wedding itself actually went off without a hitch. But after the wedding, something messed up happened. And we're going to leave it at that. Yeah, it was bad.
And we will talk about that on next week's Tony's Take. So that's all there is to say on that. It's all, and MF would be hopping mad because MF, as we all know, major love affair with Melissa Santos dating back to the Lucha Underground days. And I can't say I blame him. She was so fun as a ring announcer. That's all I can say on that. So, all right, that will put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. And good old MF Michael Fletcher right on cue. Let's set the table for what will be the final Tuesday night installment of the Cerebral Smack Talk.
Yeah, 10 o'clock, right after SmackDown Live goes off the air, we're going to be talking about SmackDown Live. And if there's any other news in the world of wrestling, we will jump in on that as well. Kind of depending what happens with Derek Ferrera, because of the fact that I know this Wednesday he's going to be doing NXT. I might take over NXT when we do the Cerebral Smack Talk, because if he's focused on AEW only and Beyond Wrestling and all that stuff, I might take NXT for myself and add that to my Mikey's Mindset. So we'll wait and see what happens. We'll see how it plays. But this Wednesday night is Derek's night where he hosts NXT. But after, when AEW begins, we'll see if I get to take over NXT recaps. Because remember, we also will have WWE preview shows that will be added to the Friday schedule along with SmackDown Live. But until then, for the final time on Tuesday night, it will be SmackDown Live and the Cerebral Smack Talk right here on StreamYard and YouTube. So until then, 10 p.m. Have a good night, everybody. Anthony, let's take it home.
Yes, and on that show tomorrow night, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, they're going to supposedly clear the air. A sit-down interview with WWE Champion Kofi Kingston. Carmella teams up with Charlotte Flair against Sasha Banks and Bayley. And the latest in the ongoing nonsense with Kevin Owens and Shane O'Mac. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So that all goes down tomorrow night on SmackDown Live, the final one on USA. So Wednesday, as MF just mentioned, we will have Wednesday Night Mayhem with Derek Ferrera and company. And then Thursday night, of course, College Football Thursday, Week 5 edition, headlined by Virginia, squaring off against Notre Dame. And then, of course, NFL Friday on Friday, Week 4 edition of that. And New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills, first place in the AFC East on the line. And then we also have some other interesting games like the Kansas City Chiefs against the surprising Detroit Lions. That game just became interesting, as does the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. AFC North on the line there, and a sleeper Sunday night game with Dallas and New Orleans. So all that and more on Friday for NFL Friday. And then, of course, next week, when all the mayhem starts, my friends. That's all there is to say on that, and I cannot wait. We cannot wait. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the final Cerebral Smack Talk on Tuesday nights with MF and all of us, you have been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube.com and on StreamYard.com. And remember, dear friends, as I always say, no matter what anyone tells you, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Floyo, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up, Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Tuesday. And until Cerebral Smack Talk tomorrow night, you have been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on Zone 25, StreamYard, and YouTube.com. So long, and bye, everybody. Bye.